I have oh, hold on. I'm getting like hearing 3 of me. How about now? Okay, we're good. Sorry, I was hearing like 9,000 of me. I don't recommend. All that to say is I'm trying something. I don't want to try something, but I also want to give you a good recording. So I'm throwing a gate.
Yeah.
I'm throwing a vocal gate on my mic. If it ends up not working, I can just send you the raw file.
Yeah, that works.
But I'm going to try throwing a gate on that way the stupid AC doesn't blow. And it's going to be, you're going to hear it when I'm talking, but like,
yeah, that's all right.
Otherwise, it should be something. So I'll give that a shot, and eventually my roommate will answer my text when I tell him you need to order Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we have some Ohio State breaking news as of like 20 minutes ago.
Ooh.
Yes, we do.
So I put together show notes, but honestly, like it's been 4 weeks, and this is kind of a chill show, and then we'll like kind of start things on Monday. So if we talk about sports, great. If we talk about things we did in December, great.
Aaron, do you still want to do Monday with the national title game on Monday?
I think I have to, just because I'm not available Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So
oh wow,
yeah.
Okay,
cool.
Yeah, because Tuesday we have guys group, Wednesday we have growth group, Thursday I've got rehearsal at UBC. So
gotcha.
yeah, so we can talk after, but I unfortunately yes, I think I still want to do a Monday, just obviously early enough that we're done before the championship.
Whatever happens to Bala's life?
That's
you involved question, with your church stuff?
I know, it's a great question.
Sell out.
Yeah. Oh, I should open Audacity. That'd be helpful. It's like I've forgotten how to record. It's been so long.
All right. Check.
I think I'm good if you guys are.
Oh, no, stop. No, I'm good. It's fine. Everything started playing.
Let me test it.
Check.
I'm good. Check. I'm good on my end.
Oh, I'm not good. I was recording everybody.
Oh.
Ooh.
And this is why we test.
This is why we test. That shouldn't be happening, though. That's so weird.
I will pause my recording.
All right, I'm just going to exit out of Audacity. That's super weird. It's in the right input. Well, YouTube, welcome to us not having done this for 4 weeks and not remembering how to do it.
Hey, YouTube.
Just me specifically. All right, what happens if I hit? Would one of you talk?
Jack, hi.
I'm talking.
All right, now it's working.
My name's Josh, and I'm talking.
All right, I'm good.
It likes playing games with us.
It does. I literally had the right input. I'm glad I looked, because that would have been sad. All right, I can get it started. Welcome to the Fifth and Goal podcast. I'm Aaron. Josh and Johnny are here with you. Listeners, it's good to be back with you. We missed you. It's been like 4 weeks off air, if you will. We don't even remember how to record a podcast. Like, I'm sitting here, all the inputs are wrong. Josh is in just a room with an air conditioner, apparently.
I'm in a random, unmarked, undisclosed room. You don't even know what state I'm in. I don't even know what state I'm in. The AC just kicked on. I'm trying to throw a gate on my vocals. I think it worked, but also it might make my voice sound very robotic and choppy. Who can say?
Yep. You can, because you'll
be able to tell. You're listening in the future, so you know what happens.
Yep.
We don't.
Good luck to future editing, Aaron. Johnny, what's up?
Nothing much. I'm ready to go. Ready to be back. Happy to be back.
Yeah, this was the longest break. It was kind of it was intentional. It's not like we just disappeared off it's not like we died for 4 weeks.
We all died. No, we all did. I was about to say we all died for 4 weeks.
Yeah, we did. But it was an intentional death, I guess. That's uncomfortable.
You just got us content ID'd.
Yep, sure did. Yeah, so we actually
it was nice while it lasted.
Yeah, it was just good. We took a break on purpose, partially just because of the holidays, but partially because we've been going like 3 years straight on this show with a weekly episode, and we didn't want to like ruin any streaks or anything, but we did want to take the time to just like take a break and think through like what we want to do for the podcast. Like give you a little peek behind the curtain here. Like we're strategizing what parts we like, what parts we don't like, try to tweak it. And really, we're not going to tweak a ton. I'll give you a heads up now that next week will be a little different as far as some formatting stuff, but it's all fun. And check out Wednesday's show when that happens. We'll explain more there. But generally speaking, yeah, I'm with you, Johnny. It's been a great few weeks. Christmas was great. I spent a few days in Florida, which was awesome because I just got to enjoy the sun and play pickleball, and that's really all I need to be happy is pretty much just that. So I had a great time. Josh, I know you were all over the place. You were truly in any number of states over the last couple weeks, but how have things been with you?
I've been great. Johnny and I were able to hang out. We were able to we hung out at what I would consider to be the perfect time for friendships in Columbus, which was the day before the Cotton Bowl. And so we were in a good mood. We had enough ignorance and like maybe some falsely gains hopeful expectation that something might happen that would be, moderately fun. But that was all in the future. And so we didn't know any of that. So it was a great time hanging out in the capital city. We did stuff and it was good.
Nice. I mean, you doing stuff is more than Ohio State did. Because this is not the show where we're just ranting for half. I don't think.
And I will say
this is the show where we ran about Ohio State for 30 minutes, but
I will say one thing I did not do was score a touchdown. So I do feel bad about that a little bit.
Yeah, but Ohio State didn't even do that. So at worst, Josh, you are on equal footing with Ohio State's offense. At worst,
Ohio State hates teachers.
Yeah,
hates them.
Yep, they do.
I did also punch a teacher in the face when I was downtown.
Oh, okay, good.
I saw, and I just kind of instinctually was like, I think I have to, and I did.
Yeah,
and it didn't feel good.
But you knew that this is what Ohio State is basically doing.
I knew
nobody has any clue what we're talking about if you didn't watch the halftime.
Yeah, and we're not going to. And guess what? We're not going to elaborate.
Yeah, we're not. I will say for us, we're recording on a Thursday. Just real quick, just disclaimer here: our normal recordings are going to be on Monday nights, so you are more than welcome to jump into our YouTube stream. We stream because we decide that we feel like we need to put our faces on the internet. So if you want to join us live and contribute to the show, by all means, we love when listeners stop in and give us comments and questions and stuff. So anyways, but we're recording on a Thursday. So for us, breaking news for Ohio State fans, Will Howard, quarterback of Kansas State, has signed his intent to transfer to Ohio State. So I guess we have a new QB1 because obviously between now and the last time we recorded, Kyle McCord is in Syracuse. He's gone. An Ohio State starter gone. You saw Devin Brown play for a moment until he unfortunately got hurt again. Lincoln Kienholz comes in that game for the Cotton Bowl. That offensive line was putrid, so I'm not sure we really got to see what Lincoln can do. But look, Will Howard, I think probably the expectation is that he is quarterback one. Johnny, I know that's a quarterback that you have kind of liked the last couple years at Kansas State. He's experienced, if nothing else. But I'm curious, since it is so new, again, we're not trying to make this a whole Ohio State podcast. We know there were a couple of big semifinal games. We'll talk about that. But I'm curious just your initial thoughts on what the Buckeyes are getting with Will Howard.
I mean, they had to do something. Ryan Day, I told Josh this before the Cotton Bowl. I said, I just want clarity. I want Devin Brown to go out there and just be putrid, just be terrible or be great.
Right.
I don't want anything in between. And I'm sorry to Devin Brown, but getting hurt in the second quarter counts as being terrible. And that's not necessarily fair, but this is now a pattern. 3 injuries, all when you're called upon in honestly very limited snaps is, I'm sorry if you're not available, then that's the most important ability. Will Howard is an available player. He is a dual threat. He is experienced. It is a 1-year rental. Aaron Noland is clearly the future for the Buckeyes. He's a 5-star quarterback incoming. I believe he's even starting in the spring, but he won't be rarely is a true freshman, 18, 19-year-old kid ready to be the starter at a place like Ohio State right off the bat. So you really needed a placeholder. When Ryan Day said, "Oh, I'm not interested. We're not even looking in the portal for a quarterback." I'm like, that's a load of crap.
Yep. Yeah.
or you're being stupid, because that made absolutely no sense. You couldn't go into next year like this. And I was interested to see what Keon Holtz could do. Aaron, you mentioned it, though. It wasn't necessarily fair of an offensive line. But in reality, and I can't take full credit for this, but, 97.1 The Fan, local Columbus sports radio, they said Devin Brown was hurt for a good chunk of the season with Keon Holtz being the backup. How did he look that unprepared in the Cotton Bowl? Like, this was not new for him to be the backup quarterback. He was most of the season. And again, I understand, true freshman, looked like a deer in the headlights, like, moment. Doesn't mean he's some terrible player. You can't go into the season with injury-prone Devin Brown, deer in the headlights, Keon Holtz, and Aaron Noland. Like, you just can't do that. And it's a put up or shut up year for Ryan Day. Like, with the new athletic director, I truly believe if he loses to Michigan next year, he will be fired.
Mm-hmm.
So it whether you like Will Howard or not, it's a big move, because I do think he'll end up winning the job. I doubt Ryan Day will just hand it, like, initially even say, like, oh, he's our starting quarterback. To me, the biggest disappointment earlier in the week was when Cam Ward announced for the NFL draft, and Ohio State barely even did anything to try to get him to Columbus. And that was the big swing I would have liked. I like Will Howard. Will Howard, to me, is a better version of Kyle McCord because he's more mobile.
Mhm.
But you're not going to see some gigantic leap from what he was at Kansas State, in my opinion, either. He'll be more mobile. You're going to see a lot more runs, a lot more quarterback running. Even though Ryan Day doesn't like to call that, he'll just do it on his own. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like, but I'd be stunned if he was not our quarterback going into the regular season next year.
Yeah, and what Ohio State's getting, they're getting a quarterback that is 6'5", 240 pounds. His stats at Kansas State, just a bit shy of 6,000 passing yards, 48 passing touchdowns, and like you said, that dual threat ability, 19 rushing touchdowns. And that's something that Ohio State hasn't had since Justin Fields. I mean, we saw C.J. Stroud just didn't really want to run. It's kind of ironic now we see him in Houston. Like, he's run far more with the Texans than he has with the Buckeyes, partly out of necessity. Like, clearly that was him trying to stay healthy, and he did for Ohio State. But yeah, that's something we haven't seen in a while, and that'll be really interesting. And look, no offense to anyone on Kansas State. I mean, this is a team that, not this year, but last year, won a Big 12 championship game. But Will Howard will have, by far, the best weapons he's had to throw to. So I'm curious, too, in that respect, if his numbers go up by quite a lot. We'll see. The way the offense looked in the Cotton Bowl, I was not one of those fire Ryan Day people, but the last two games I watched Ohio State play, I am trending closer to that, because I don't care if it's Missouri State playing in the Cotton Bowl. You show up, you play hard, and unfortunately, outside of the defense, which played well for Ohio State, that just didn't happen. Well, that's enough Ohio State. Yeah, again, I promise we're not trying to just talk about our team for this episode. What we will talk about is the team that we hate to talk about when they're doing good, and that is the Michigan Wolverines. They beat Alabama in overtime. They stuff them on the 4-yard line. Michigan finally gets over the hurdle of the college football semifinal. Jim Harbaugh wins his second bowl game with the Wolverines. Guys, thoughts on Michigan advancing to the Natty?
I've never in my life, I think, been in a position where I was going to be genuinely put off if either team made it in.
You were rooting for the Meteor, is what you're saying?
I was rooting for the stadium collapse, which is sad because I love the Rose Bowl. But side note, well, we'll talk about it afterwards. I want to see what you guys think. Anyway, ignore all of this. But it's our podcast, so I can talk about whatever I want whenever I want. Yes, you can. But not now. I think that as I was internalizing the Michigan win, I was like, well, you know what? The good thing is the SEC is going to be guaranteed out of the actual championship for the first time in a billion years, which is really nice. Two, I already knew I was going to root for Texas or Washington anyway. But then I thought about all the stupid T-shirts that are going to be made the backup T-shirts in case they win. And it just made me sad, and just deeply sad. And so I'm not only Team Washington, I'm Team Mount St. Helens, and I've been following
Wow,
the
yes.
unofficial, official Twitter accounts,
Yes.
following all the snark that's going down. I don't think the Mount St. Helens is set to blow for a while. But if it did, and it was capable of shooting just one very specific little lava ball straight to the big house, I would give some mad respect.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I thought that Alabama was going to win this game. I think a lot of people did.
Oh, absolutely.
Vegas did not. I'll hand it to Vegas because Johnny and I were talking before the game. I'm like, Johnny, I didn't bet for Alabama, even though I feel pretty strongly they're going to win, because the line was still in favor of Michigan. And it was one of those things where I'm like, does Vegas know something I don't? And I'm not sure they did. Obviously, they're just playing the percentages and they're playing to make the most money because that's their business to do so. But I didn't touch it because I'm like, to me, Alabama would just be 3 or 4 point favorites. And that was not the case. And you know what? Michigan out-toughed Alabama basically the entire game. This game doesn't even go into overtime if Michigan has average special teams play. It was really bad. Really bad. All the way around, everyone made mistakes in special teams, but Michigan's mistakes cost them 4 points. So we're not even talking about overtime if they just do normal things like don't send a snap 20 yards backwards on the field goal or any number of these things. Why in college football are we fair catching inside the 5-yard line? Like Michigan did that a bunch, but every team's doing it. What happened?
Aaron, but that one was not even like at the 5. It was literally the goal line.
Yeah. Terrible.
It was literally the goal line. Oh my gosh.
I mean, what happened? And maybe that's Johnny and I, because we're sitting together watching these games, and maybe it's the equivalent of us, like old man yelling in a cloud, like back in our day, special teams people, you put your heels on the 10-yard line and you let it bounce. Like, I don't know. I'm not trying to be that guy, but I kind of am that guy. Like, what are we doing here? Anyways, so
Washington
not very
did it
special,
too.
if you ask me.
Yes, they did.
If Washington doesn't do that, they probably blow Texas out.
Oh, man.
It was a special teams nightmare of
Yes.
an evening.
Yes, it was.
But I will say that, like this, one of the reasons that I always hear like people like the NFL better than college is because it's better football. And okay, yeah, that's true. Like obviously, that's not really an argument for college football there. Like, of course they're better. One of the reasons we love college football is the wild, stupid, wacky stuff, like shanking an extra point, like trying to return a ball that's clearly bouncing into the end zone with a minute left and your team has a chance to go probably win the game in regulation. We love that stuff. We love that college football is stupid. People were basically worshiping a Pop-Tart in the last month. So
it's beautiful.
We love college football because of those things too. So while we're like, what are you doing? At the same time, that's what endears the sport to us. And you don't get a lot of that in the NFL. No. So we love it because of that. But Aaron, you're absolutely right. Michigan was clearly the better team. Like they were just the better team. Like that was obvious in truth. That's not what happened in that game. Will not happen in the national title game against Washington. I could almost guarantee you that. Like, it's not going to happen 2 games in a row. Michigan was tougher at the line of scrimmage. They won the line of scrimmage. Most of Alabama's rushing yards were from Milroe, their quarterback. Like, so those numbers in a way are really skewed. He had like less than 100 yards passing, I believe. And Michigan's defense was just shut Alabama down. And if it's not for their muffed kick, like, Alabama might not have been in that game early. So, like, so many things honestly had to go correct for Alabama to even be in the game. But their inability to also snap the ball to their quarterback properly really set them up for failure at critical junctures. And I just don't think I've seen a Nick Saban team not quite self-implode because it wasn't quite that dramatic. But just time after time in the game, critical moments or a drive's finally getting momentum. They're moving the ball. They're past the 50. And they just have a penalty and then 2 snaps into the dirt or almost into the dirt, enough to throw Milroe's timing off. A lot of his play definitely goes to the center there. I don't know what was going
Might
on.
be a future Buckeye, apparently.
Oh, please. I hope they mean a guard, not a center.
Yeah.
He might be a fine blocker, but
He's a great blocker. He's a great pass blocker.
should
Statistically
not be
great.
snapping the ball.
Oh,
If you're not, every quarterback has an exact spot where they probably would like the ball, but the most important trait is just that the ball's consistent. Unless you mean consistently in the dirt. It has to. You have to give your quarterback a chance. Milroe's guessing where that ball's going the entire game. If Alabama just is getting the snap properly, they probably win the game because timing is everything on offense. So wild game, really weird, fun. We got to talk about commercials at some point, but let's make this a happy podcast.
Should we just cut to a commercial, even though we don't have
on
the show?
Probably
in solidarity with the college football playoff.
Yeah, probably. We'll talk about that another day on a rant, but it was an excellent game.
Yeah,
it was an excellent game. It was a fun game. Yeah, I'm with Josh though. I was cheering for the meteor, so to speak.
Yeah. Look, we got 2 good semifinals, and Washington made it way better than it should have been. That would have been the most monumental disaster, maybe in all of sports ever, which this sounds terrible, but because the opportunity was there, I was almost rooting for it. Texas driving down the field with under a minute to play. Great defensive play in the end for Washington. They hang on,
awesome.
But just did we not learn anything from Mario Cristobal? We learned nothing. Anyways, so you guys know how I'm not telling you, the listener, anything new. You all know how this went. By the time this comes out, it'll be almost a week old. But the reality is, Washington and Texas, I thought were fairly similar, but the quarterback play was night and day difference. And Quinn Ewers is a good quarterback. That was not his game. And on the other side, Michael Penix Jr., just pass after pass, dropping it in the bucket. I don't care if he's got 3 NFL wide receivers. Those throws are insane. And I'm so interested to see how Michigan handles him, how he works against that Michigan defense, because that's going to be a thing of beauty to watch. But Michael Penix was unbelievable. And a lot of people were obviously watching him for the first time, or at least him play a full game for the first time. And so I enjoyed reading those comments.
Ridiculous.
First of all, you probably should have watched him. If you consider yourself a college football fan and you love the sport, you probably should have watched him already. But if you didn't, that's okay.
No,
but
I'm an AP voter,
reading
so
all
I
the
don't
tweets of
watch
like, oh
any
my
of the games.
gosh, this guy can throw the ball really well. I'm like, well, yeah, of course, yes. This guy
Aaron,
probably should have
how
been
many
the Heisman.
Heisman?
Yes.
How many Heisman Trophy voters hadn't watched him until that game?
Boy. Yeah, I don't even want to know the number, but it's significant.
Oh, wow,
number.
this guy over on the West Coast is pretty decent at slinging that ball around. Yeah, that's what we've been saying.
Yeah, it's because you guys
Same
all go to
people who
bed at
cost-
8 p.m. Eastern time.
Christian McCaffrey a Heisman too.
Oh, Andrew
Same
Luck.
people.
We can have that conversation. Anyways, so that sets up Washington, Michigan. Ironically, it's 1 versus 2. Guess what the BCS would have picked as the national champion?
I will also say, as like a
teams.
weird bookend to the 4-team college football playoff, a Big Ten team that was slightly underrated against Alabama, going up against the Pac-12 champ. I'm hoping that Washington does better this time, but weird bookends.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And their rival team.
And their rival
as well.
team, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's very odd. But a good matchup. I mean, this is 1 versus 2. Florida State, I wish, again, you were robbed, all that. I don't care. It doesn't matter what they looked like against Georgia. They had half their team out. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
But it is funny that, again, you have 1 versus 2. The BCS would have picked this championship matchup as well, for what it's worth. Obviously, you had 2 close games, so I'm not sitting here pretending like Alabama and Texas didn't belong in the conversation. That would be dumb of me to say. But I just appreciate the BCS, and it's fun when you get the same result that the BCS would have given you anyways.
Time for AI.
Yeah.
No,
sure.
Josh.
Yeah.
No.
I've already said it. It's already out.
It's taking over anyway.
It's time for them to choose which football we watch too. I trust Skynet with all of my football preferences.
Sound like a Heisman voter there, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of
I just
football, you
had
should
every
watch.
I had every candidate just fight to the death in my computer simulation,
Good.
and the winner was my vote.
Beautiful.
Archer just turned on my Xbox and is confused again whether there's another dog in the TV screen. This is a daily occurrence.
Archer
You just-
daily learning object permanence.
He just boops the touchscreen
Right.
Xbox button, and it always turns on every time, and he
Oh,
jumps
man.
back like he's scared.
Aaron, it happens sometimes. Sometimes someone accidentally brushes against an Xbox.
Yeah. Well, but Josh, at least he's turning it on and not turning it off.
On,
Well,
off, the thing doesn't matter. Sometimes it
True.
happens.
Yeah.
I could totally see a situation in which Archer accidentally turns off
Right.
the Xbox in the middle of a heated multiplayer
A high
game
score,
or a
yeah.
really high score. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Career high in
He
2K,
has-
It's never
I don't
happened
play
to
any
anybody.
of those games, but he has turned it off, actually.
See?
He has locked up and turned it off.
That's Microsoft's fault. That's
That-
not
that- for sure.
Archer's
It
fault.
is
or
a
my
terrible
fault.
design.
Yep.
I was in the middle of a heated Lego Lord of the Rings
Oh.
level,
Dang it, Bill Gates. Make something right for once.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Josh, I'll be honest, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, just in college, we had the Xbox sitting up on the dresser, and it was just perfect leaning height. So if you lean kind of on the dresser and put your arm there, bidoop.
Oh,
Yep.
I remember this now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
To be fair, it was my Xbox.
It's
So
true.
like
That's true.
not that I have immunity to turn it on and off whenever, because that feels like a dictatorship.
You kind of do. Yeah.
But also I shouldn't feel too bad for
No.
it because it is my Xbox. And what if I don't want you to play it right now?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now, I will say it wounded me to my core, and we haven't spoken to this day, but
It is. I put on the character of Josh whenever we
mhm.
do podcasts, and you put on the character
Yes.
of Aaron. Outside of this, we're bitter enemies.
Yeah, we hate each other.
Always
Yeah.
in litigation, always like smear
It
campaigning.
was so
each other.
bad that Aaron left for Florida the day before Josh got to Columbus.
True.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Didn't want to see that guy.
I made up rumors in the newspapers that you were going to go to France and like side with France in their war.
Yeah.
All this stuff.
Yep.
Was
Par
that
for
what
the
happened,
course.
Johnny? Did I get that
Sure.
reference right?
Sure.
Cool.
Yep. Well,
Next time I'll actually vet my own joke before asking Johnny mid joke. Hey,
No,
am I doing
it's-
this joke right?
it's better to just send it out into the ether, Josh, and hope you're right.
Just send it with confidence. It'll be
'Cause, look,
funny.
if you ask him if this joke works, then you've kind of told him the joke anyways, and you missed the
Right.
punchline out of it.
I mean, it'd be
so-
stupid if I were to say, "Hey, Johnny, I'd like to make a joke based on the Jefferson Adams electoral like smear campaigns.
right.
Who accused who of going to France? Like
Mhm.
at that point, the joke's done.
Yep. Yep. You're toast.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
and that was the least offensive thing that was alleged in that whole debacle. I chose the PG rated one.
oh, that's good. Good call. All right. Well, real quick, we'll touch on some NFL news, and then we'll get back to whatever we want to talk about.
Oh, I'm
'Cause we
so
don't-
glad you want to talk
Do we
about
want
the
to talk
NFL.
about the NFL? I'll talk about
Yeah,
it because
because
it's
I
week
have
18.
I have 5 situations in which the Steelers can make the playoffs.
Oh, tell me.
It's really super easy. The Steelers have to win against the Ravens. So
Possible
Who aren't
because the
starting
Ravens are sitting people.
anyone.
They claim the one seed.
Exactly.
Possible.
exactly. So I think plus either Buffalo has to lose at Miami. The Jaguars have to either lose or tie.
Okay.
There are 5 unique situations in which the Steelers can make it.
So only one of these works, right? Like you only need one.
Only need one exactly.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So it's not bad. Either
Yeah.
the Colts and Texans tie. That's not likely. Buffalo loses. I don't see that, but maybe. They're at Miami, and Miami might be pretty heated still.
Mhm.
Jaguars lose or tie. Jaguars lose, Broncos win. Like, there's a lot of good scenarios for Mason Rudolph to finally complete his redemption arc.
Mason Rudolph. Wow.
Mhm.
Yep.
So
I think
we're
honestly,
very
I think
sad,
you
but
guys
also
are just going to
hopeful.
straight up beat the Ravens. I know they're going to be sitting some players because they've already wrapped up the 1 seed. I think you guys are just going to find a way because Mike Tomlin's got to get his 10-7 record, right? Like that's just kind
That's
of what he
part of the
does.
it's part of the secret contracts where
Yeah.
he not only does he have like the record, he must finish at least 10-7.
Yeah. What are the chances if we invented a time machine, which good for us, and you went back to the start of week 1 or the preseason, and
I'm
you
glad
walked
this is
up to
the first thing we're
Johnny and you
doing.
said, "Hey Johnny, I've got great news for you. 3 AFC North teams are going to make the playoffs. Great news." And what, Johnny, remind me what AFC North team you root for?
What, the team with their hurt starting quarterback?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And then
yeah, like
you'd have
us.
to be
Yeah, like us.
oh, right, about that. I mean, who knew? And it's not like the Bengals had that bad of a season even without Joe Burrow. But the fact that
They were
that's a
fine.
possibility, that 3 of the 4 teams are getting in and the one that's not getting in is the team that's been to back-to-back AFC championships, that's kind of nuts. We do have kind of a playoff game in week 18. Josh, you alluded to it. It's part of the scenario for the Steelers to get in. I think you said the Colts and Texans need to tie. Ties are very rare anyways. This will probably be even more rare just because this is a win or go home for the Colts and Texans. And actually, I don't even know what happens if they tie. I think
they're both out.
Are they both? Well, someone's got to win that division. Oh, because Jacksonville did. And yeah, you're right. Okay, that's what it is. Well, anyways, CJ Stroud, our guy, trying to get the Houston Texans to the playoffs. They will host the Indianapolis Colts on, that is Saturday. They're playing that game, I believe, Saturday night. So that's a playoff game, which we love. So that's exciting. We like that. The AFC East title comes down to the Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins. Of course, the Dolphins are still licking their wounds from that beatdown by the Baltimore Ravens. Yes.
That one is so fascinating. I don't know if you were about to say it,
Yeah,
so
no,
I'm
go
sorry
ahead.
if I'm stealing your thunder.
No.
But that game is wild
Uh-huh.
because if things go poorly for the Bills, they could be out.
Yep.
And if they win, they could potentially be the 2 seed.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like that
That's
in playoff
crazy.
scenarios before. Like, just wild. I think they'll win, but wild. Dolphins are good. They're in the playoffs either way, but wild.
They're in the playoffs, but it's the same theme throughout the entire year. They play a good team and they just fall apart. And the Ravens have
AFC
done that-
Cowboys.
Yes, they are. And I'll try to withhold my Cowboys-Lions comments because that was, again, like a week ago. But the funny thing is with Miami, like obviously they get killed by Baltimore. And I think it's more on Miami. That's just tough to lose like that. But Baltimore has done that to some really good teams. They killed Detroit. That's been by far the Lions' worst loss. They've killed some other really good teams. So right now, the playoffs haven't even started yet. But I think assuming health, Baltimore is the clear Super Bowl favorite, probably with the 49ers. I know I'm just listing the top teams in each conference, but the Ravens are playing so well. I will say, we talked about the Bills 2-seed scenario. They've won 4 in a row since their head coach made particular comments. I'll put it that way. So that really inspired his team's communication. It really seemed to work.
Oh,
So good for Sean.
Good job.
Yeah.
very good.
Yep. My Lions are playing the Vikings. They've already clinched the division. They could be playing for the 2 seed. They, in theory, should already have it if a certain referee had ruled correctly, I believe. But it sounds like Dan Campbell is saying, you know what, we're going for it. We're running
That
our
same-
guys.
That same officiating team is at Steelers Ravens.
Yeah, they are.
And I'm really worried that something's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, they did get bumped off of the postseason, so there's at least
Good.
some punishment
There's
that came down. If you want to know more about, hey, why do NFL refs have these issues, then check out our YouTube channel. We're having a video about the problem with NFL refs. We've talked about it on this show. A lot of it has to do with their part-time. There's a lot of other things involved, but that's happening on our YouTube channel. So go check that out. I won't bore you with me ranting about the Lions call a week later, but anyways, I'm excited. Look, I mean, Detroit won the division, so I'm thrilled. They're hosting a playoff game. The ticket prices are crazy. I think they're like $600 to just get in the door at Ford Field, which is, I think, good. Just the fact that they're hosting a playoff game. It's the first division title in my lifetime, so I'm excited. I don't know about that defense still. I don't know if they make a deep run. We'll talk about all that next week, because by the time we record next week, we'll know the playoff matchups. We'll know kind of what that bracket might look like, but that's just kind of my general take on the Lions. But they can, I will say, defense is shaky, but boy, they can score some points. So I think they can score on just about anybody. So we'll see. But anyways, that's the NFL preview. Guys, any other NFL stuff going on this week that you're interested in? I know we kind of touched on all of our teams. We touched on the biggest playoff scenarios, but anything else?
I mean, honestly, it's just been a story for the whole season of just backup quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I feel
truly.
like if you had to summarize this year, it's just been the year of the backup. So it's going to be fascinating to watch as you have teams like the Browns are literally resting Joe Flacco going into the playoffs because they're locked into the 5 seed. And it's just going to be fascinating.
Against utter from week
just,
1.
Yes, just wild. You're absolutely right, Josh. But you have like backup quarterbacks, or you could say middling quarterbacks, where you got Geno Smith, Drew Lock out in Seattle. Actually, I think they're done pretty much after that loss to Pittsburgh. But, you have the Browns, Joe Flacco, CJ Stroud's been out at times for the Texans. Gardner Minshew has basically started almost the whole year he is the backup for the Colts. Technically, they're fighting for that playoff spot. It's just a fascinating year where there's been so many teams fighting for playoff spots all the way up until last week or this week. I'm thinking Browns, Vikings type of teams. And it's just be fascinating. I feel like that there will be that effect at some point in the playoffs as well. I mean, beyond just the teams that aren't there because their quarterbacks are hurt, like the Chargers and like the Bengals and like the Vikings, I would even actually say, based on the season they had without their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
It'll just be fascinating to see what effect that has on the playoffs. We came into the year really thinking the AFC was so much better than the NFC. I don't know if that's really necessarily that true anymore. Nobody's really picking the Chiefs, which I think is very dangerous. But the Ravens do look like one of the most well-rounded teams along with the 49ers. So I'm fascinated. It'll be really interesting. Don't assume the Ravens are making the Super Bowl. I'm not saying they shouldn't be the favorite, but Lamar has not made a conference title game yet. So that doesn't mean it won't happen. Just because it hasn't doesn't mean it won't. But that's really the main blemish on his career so far is disappearing. Not necessarily melting down, but just disappearing in the playoffs. He's healthy this year. He hasn't been in the last few. So ironic. Everybody else is hurt this year. Lamar's fine. Not wishing injury on Lamar. Hopefully he stays healthy. I want him to play. He's phenomenal to watch. There's a lot of great storylines and themes going into the playoffs. I'm fascinated to see how it works out. We could literally have some fun rematches like the Rams-Lions with Goff, Stafford in the first round. We could have Flacco going to Baltimore in the second round. If the Browns win, that would be fun. There's a lot. You could have Dolphins Chiefs first round. Who wouldn't like that?
Yeah.
So we're going to start off with a bang. It'll be great games. I think we're not going to have a lot of duds like there often are wild card weekend. I think these will be fantastic competitive games.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm excited. I'm trying to keep my schedule free for those days. Lamar Jackson, he may have been the MVP this season regardless, but really in that win over Miami, that's kind of a done deal, I think. So good for him. For me, I like Tyreek Hill, not as the MVP. I think I'd still vote for Lamar, but if I had to vote prior to last week, I think I probably would have gone with Tyreek, but then you put the two head to head and it's kind of hard to argue Tyreek over Lamar there, but we'll see. You're right, Johnny. His health has been the biggest deal, and he's been healthy really this entire season, which has been such a huge deal.
Never happened.
And you pair what they've been able to do on offense. They actually have some wide receivers this year for a change. Like that wasn't really there the last 2 years. And you pair that defense. Like this is just such a good team. And look, last year in 2022, before the season even started, we were talking about their third string running back. And now they're almost 2 or 3 running backs. If you count Lamar Jackson in the running game, they're 3 running backs deep. So it's just completely turned on its head. So good for the Ravens. I know you probably don't like them as much as I do because they're in your division, but I'm interested to see where that team goes. So that's happening. Again, we'll talk about it next week when we know the actual playoff matchups in the wild card. I'm looking forward to that. All right, we do know the national championship game in college football. We're circling back because it's our picks of the week.
Ooh, circling back. It is the new year.
Oh, dang it. I hate the fact that I said that. Can I
You
take that
should.
back? Can I delete
The amount
future
of-
editing, Aaron? Delete
No,
that. That's
it's
terrible.
there.
No, okay. Hey,
Done.
teacher Aaron, it's current Josh. So I had to do that so many times, like the Tuesday, January 2nd.
Yeah.
I sent probably like close to 40 emails, basically just finding different ways of saying, hey, circling back to this thing I sent you on December 12th.
Well, you didn't
I
actually
felt
say it,
so
right?
bad. And I know, gosh, no, I would quit right
Good
on the
job,
spot if I
Josh.
had to say circling back.
Lord's
Yeah.
work right there.
Well, let me ask this, because I agree that what I just said was incredibly cringe, and I apologize to you, the audience. However, I think that when most people say, let's circle back to that, it's almost like a way of just like postponing it into the future indefinitely, and they don't actually mean to come back to it. I at least use it in a context where, like, right this second, we are circling back to this topic. Does it make it better, or is it still as cringe as possible?
Better. It's better.
Okay.
It's
Slightly
it's
better.
not, it's still on the spectrum of good to bad. It's still bad.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
But it
yeah.
is closer to the middle.
Okay.
It is better.
Whew. That's
Because it is still like we are currently circling back.
Mm-hmm.
But we've all mutually agreed to do this podcast. We enjoy doing it. We want to do
we
it.
did.
When
Aren't we always circling back though, Josh?
we're
Isn't
not doing
everyone?
this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this.
I mean, the Earth rotates, right?
The Earth
Exactly.
Yeah.
doesn't-
We're always
it's not a-
circling back.
It
not a
does if you
at all
believe in that.
times.
Listen.
year. We don't have a
Everyone.
perfect orbit. Come on.
Okay, everyone but Aaron Rodgers believes that we are always circling back.
Hmm.
And no, there's someone else. There's someone in the NBA. I'm trying to remember.
Kyrie.
Hmm.
Is it Kyrie? Okay.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Kyrie and Aaron got to be fun at parties, man.
Oh,
Fun at
put them
parties.
in a room
man.
together. Give them a podcast.
I hear Jimmy Kimmel's
Actually,
really,
I would listen to that podcast. That's the bad.
I give it.
thing.
I give it. I
Like,
give it one listen.
Yeah,
It'd make me furious, but I think I'd listen to it.
yeah. Well, Aaron Rodgers is making friends as we go along. Jimmy Kimmel seems to be
Oh,
his
yeah.
newest friend, so that's exciting.
Isn't it?
Yes.
I'm
Good
for
so
them.
glad. I'm glad they have friends.
Yeah, that's really good. All right.
You know you've messed up when executives come in and like the next day,
Uh-huh.
hold on.
Yeah, Pat
Sorry,
McCaffrey.
teacher-
Yeah, that guy.
Nope.
Okay. I was like, as I was about to say something, I'm like, oh, I've actually never said his name out loud. Colts kicker.
Yeah.
When you make Pat wear a real shirt the
Mhm.
next day, you know that the previous show was full of crap.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's the
boy.
equivalent of that for us? Like, when do you know something's gone terribly wrong? Based on
I'm
either
wearing
our,
a tie.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. Based
Me
on how
wearing
this
a
show
tie.
went, our appearance on it the next. Yeah. Correct. Really, in any circumstance.
If you ever
Johnny.
see me on this podcast, see me on this podcast.
Well, YouTube is a thing.
But,
You can do
but
that.
yeah, YouTube.
Yeah.
If you ever see, honestly, just in general life though, if you see me wearing a tie and I'm not like at a wedding, be concerned for
Thoughts
my
and
health
prayers.
and well-being. Yes,
Mhm.
be concerned.
Yeah. All right, you guys ready to circle back? All right, here we
Let's do
go.
it.
Picks of the week, national championship game. Michigan versus Washington. I'm picking Michigan. I think the defense is going to prevail against that great Washington offense. Johnny and I were talking about this as that Sugar Bowl was happening. I don't know why, but for the last few weeks, I've just had it in my brain that I think Michigan matches up well against Washington, maybe even more so than Texas. I can't really tell you why I feel that. It's just kind of a gut thing. Now, I also think I probably would pick Michigan to beat Texas if that was the matchup. I don't know why. I just think that Michigan will find creative ways to put pressure on Michael Penix, which is a really difficult thing. He's only been sacked 11 times this year. Part of it is the scheme. They do such a good job of getting the ball out of his hand quickly. It obviously helps to have 3 pro wide receivers, but I just think Michigan is going to find a way to disrupt the Washington offense, much like they did Alabama. How many times was Jalen Milroe sacked? Like, that was unbelievable. And maybe that's
6,
more
I
of
believe.
an indictment on the Alabama offensive line. But Michigan played out of their minds, and I think they're going to use that positive momentum. They're going to roll it into a national title. It pains me as a Buckeye fan. It's not quite as painful because my wife is a Michigan fan, so I have a little bit of her joy. But I'm very conflicted. I do think Michigan pulls this out. And we'll see what happens after that, because the NCAA still has some things to say. But I think Michigan wins it in Houston on Monday.
I'm picking Washington, first off, because I picked them anyway.
Yeah, you picked them at the beginning.
So I'm
Yeah.
happy about that. So I'm just going to keep rolling with that. Also, they're going to do what purple teams against Michigan do best, which is change the signs at the last minute
there you
and
go.
completely confuse the defense.
Yep.
So give me the true Heisman winner all day.
I'm going with that stupid team that's in a state north of us.
The entire south half of that state looks exactly like Toledo. Like there's nothing different. You can't put me in a random town like in like South Central Michigan and tell me that's not Ohio.
Mhm.
Like
the
the only beautiful thing about it is the UP, and that's pretty much Wisconsin. So,
but I am picking Michigan. Gosh, I just hate those words that just came out of my mouth. I would love to see Washington win.
Yeah,
not that I need to say that.
This is why you go with gut, and my gut would have thrown up had I said the words that you
Surprised
just said.
I didn't. But Aaron, what you just said matchup wise, who does this year's Washington team remind you of? Maybe
I'd say Ohio
2019
State
LSU.
like 2 years ago.
Exactly.
Yep.
2019 LSU,
Mhm.
CJ Stroud when they had Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Young, Marvin Harrison, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. What did Michigan do to that team in 2021 specifically? Really, I feel like is what we're going to see with Washington. It is very rare that a team has the speed, has the secondary players, and a wide array of pass rushers, not one pass rusher, but a wide array of them, specifically in the middle of the defensive line, that can provide pressure and can cover for long stretches of time in the secondary. Michigan was born and bred to beat Ohio State. That's what this version of Michigan was created to do. Washington, perhaps a better version of that Ohio State team. Obviously, not talking this year. We're talking CJ Stroud, those wide receivers, Ohio State. You could argue this is a better version of that. It really doesn't matter whether you think that or not. It is stylistically very similar. So I don't see how Michigan loses then. You already have the game plan. Kalen DeBoer is a fantastic coach. Nobody's talking about him enough. Amazing play caller, creative, gutsy. You're going to see everything he's got in his playbook in this game. It's going to be a fun game. Michigan's going to limit possessions, though. And Washington's not going to be able to settle for field goals in the red zone. Anything but a Washington touchdown is a win for Michigan every single drive.
Yeah.
They're going to slow the game down. They're going to limit possessions more than anything. And that's going to play into Michigan's style. When it comes to usually when it comes to a national title game, and there's one team that likes to slow the game down, limit possessions, control the ball, and you have a high-flying offense that Washington doesn't need speed of play, but they do need lots of possessions. That is part of how they succeed.
Yep.
Usually the defensive-minded ball control team does end up winning. I think Michigan's going to shut down that Washington offense in the red zone, much like they did to Stroud and those Ohio State wide receivers. Stroud had over 300 yards in, I believe, both games. The wide receivers looked amazing, made great plays. They didn't punch it into the end zone enough, and they were limited to 9 or 10 possessions in the game. I think it's probably a very similar outcome, unfortunately. I do think Penix will play brilliantly.
Yeah.
And that offensive line won the Joe Moore Award for the top offensive line in the country. Penix has great pocket awareness, avoiding the rush. If you watch that Texas game, it was elite. NFL teams had to be drooling over that. I think it'll be a fun game. I don't say this as like Michigan's going to just destroy Washington, but I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan even won by 10 points or so.
Yeah, and I think of how that Alabama Michigan game ended too. At some point, that offensive line and Blake Corum just put the team on their back and just dominated. And I think Washington, in theory, has a worse defense than Alabama, and I worry about how they hold up in the fourth quarter. So we'll see.
Fair point.
And Alabama, what's the best thing they've done on offense this year is arguably that deep ball, because Jalen Milroe has a cannon. They tried it a couple times. It really didn't work. Alabama didn't have that big play. Great. No, Michael Penix is a better quarterback. That's probably the understatement of the century. But if Washington can't take the top off the Michigan defense, it's over. And maybe they can. And if they do, then who knows? But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, Will Johnson, Sam are still back there.
Yep.
That'll be the key. That's really honestly the key to the game. Can they hold up long enough for the pass rush to get home? That'll be so key against Polk and Odunze and McMillan. Should be, NFL players all over the place in this game.
Yeah. Should be good. We will probably record our episode next week right before the national championship game, which is unfortunate. Blame college football for putting their title game on a Monday night. So this is kind of our preview. Next week we'll talk mostly NFL, because we're not going to talk another preview about a game that will have happened. You know how this goes. If you've been listening to this podcast for any amount of time, you understand how this kind of thing usually works. But we're excited to talk about it and break it down when we're recording on a day that it's already happened. All right, guys, really important news. How good are you guys at pinball?
Poor.
I'll go up to a pinball machine and do really poorly.
Okay. That's kind of where
but
my
but I will tell you, I have a good time while I'm doing it. And I feel like I learn something every now and then.
Yeah.
Now then I go away from the pinball machine and do not touch another one for a year, so I forget all those things I learned. But I like to think there's something good in it for me.
Yeah. Josh, let me ask you this. If you had unlimited amount of quarters that you could just feed into the machine, how long do you think you could play without just being bored and wanting to do something else?
So that's an interesting question, because that is exactly like an arcade that's in Dallas.
Oh.
And the answer is about 18 minutes.
Okay. All right. Johnny, what about you?
30 minutes.
30. Okay. That's probably where I'm at. So needless to say, we would not be good at attempting the Guinness World Record for most hours playing a pinball machine. But never fear, an Ohio man, Jim Foliano, is here to save the day. This record was just broken like 2 months ago, and Jim looked at the record and said, absolutely not, I've got to have it. And it's not his first time getting a Guinness World Record. He recently, if I can find it, here we go. Back in July, this is very recent, he notified the Guinness World Record book people saying, hey, I'm going to give a lot of people a high five. And in fact, he broke the record for most high fives in today with 15,338. He went to the Flying Pig Marathon and gave high fives to as many people as he could and spread innumerable diseases along the way, I'm sure. But he's now moving on to pinball. He's pivoting very hard in his world records. So right now, the world record for most hours playing one pinball machine is 63. It's a record holder by Andrew Robichaud from Florida. He's stealing it back. So starting on January 11th at 9 p.m., and the reason why he's doing it at night is because he can get his first several hours while this place called the Pinball Garage is closed. So they're opening it up literally just for him. And he's allowed to play this one pinball game. And I know what you're probably thinking. How does he eat? How does he do other things? This article doesn't say. What I do think is interesting, though, and you can use your imagination. I'm sure. I'm sure he's having some help. Probably people. Maybe just. I mean, it is a pinball table. Like, you could, in theory, put a plate of food on the table while you're playing it. It doesn't say that he has to play well. He just has to be playing it. And apparently, he's never really played pinball before, but he's been practicing for the past 4 to 6 months. And for that reason, I'm like, yeah, why? So, anyways, he's playing this specific, I don't know if this article says, I'm reading from Scripps News, but he's playing an Avengers-themed pinball machine, which is pretty sweet. If you're going to pick one, that's a good one to do it with,
solid one.
but whew.
I will say the new ones. I plan on a few of the new ones. There's a lot of fun stuff. They got like video messages and
Yeah.
like it'll like suck the ball in, and then you like play a separate video game up on the screen. Like there's some fun.
Yeah.
Like there's some good stuff. But also, yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Apparently, this guy also recently won like the world record for most like high fives.
Yep.
Oh, wait, did you already say that?
I
As
did,
I was
yeah.
looking up the news article. That's awesome.
Yep.
Hey listeners, ignore what Aaron just said. Listen to
Josh
me
said
now.
it better.
Let me read the exact same press release he just read. But funny.
Josh, are you following the exact same thing as Aaron too?
So no, I'm not actually. There's this guy out of Hamilton, Ohio, and
Okay.
he's looking to. Yeah, no. No, I have two things. One, this just popped up on my feed, so I have to talk about it real quick. NASA just streamed a cat video from 90 million miles away.
Oh.
What?
Sorry, 19 million, not 90, 19. You heard me the first time, 19. I never said 90. So
Right, that was the problem I had with it.
A laser communications experiment flying aboard NASA's Psyche mission has beamed back to Earth a 15-second cat video. The cat's name is Taters.
Oh.
And everyone's freaking out about it because, first off, it was done with lasers, not radio waves, which means we're traveling at the speed of light, baby. And two,
The speed of lasers sounds cooler.
the speed of lasers is that was my EDM side project in high school. Yes, but
That's good.
check out my Bandcamp.
Yep.
But it's really just me re-recording Tron, the Tron
Just
soundtrack.
pitch shifted
But-
up by microtone.
Exactly.
Call it good.
It just shifted enough to avoid copyright.
Yep.
Re-uploaded under the speed of lasers. It's great.
I now no longer understand what we're talking about.
Good.
I don't even know either. My goal with jokes is to move further and further niche into where I'm to the point where I'm the only one laughing.
Yep.
And I think we did that today. Good job, everyone.
Good. Round of
But
applause.
good job, guys. So just so you know, NASA's playing with lasers again, but lasers and cats. The cat's name was Taters. That's fantastic. What I'm actually
Great.
following is another collaborative. Oh, first off, there's so many things I have to follow up on. Did you guys see that Minnesota finally figured out what to do with their new flag?
Did
Yeah,
they?
it's a stupid flag. It's
It's
minimalistic.
not a dog on like a grassy hill, so it's stupid. Overall, I don't hate it because it can go horizontal or vertical, and it works pretty nicely.
Is it just a square?
No, I mean it's a rectangle,
Basically, Aaron.
but it's
I'm looking
on the side. It looks it's not bad.
This is so much effort
It's-
I have to do right now.
You have to do a
I
lot.
gotta Google this.
It has no character. It could be the flag of
What?
a
That's
ton
the
of different
flag?
states. Thank you,
Oh,
Aaron.
that is terrible.
Yep. Terrible. There's nothing specifically Minnesota about it. Nothing.
It's blue. Minnesota
Nothing.
gets cold.
That's terrible.
Oh, it could be either Dakota, it could be any northern state.
Yep.
Any of them. Any of them.
Or
It's
Yemen.
not
I
specific
don't
at all. Yeah, you're right, Aaron. It could be Yemen. You don't even know. There's nothing specific about it. All of these logos, they're switching to all minimalistic.
Ugh, terrible.
Warner Brothers is just a WB or whatever now. You're like, I don't even know what that is. HBO's now Max.
Yep.
Max is what you name your dog. Like, what are we doing?
Oh, I'm so
Sorry,
glad.
that was a rant
No,
on art.
welcome
I didn't know we were ranting on art today.
Welcome to Fun with Flags,
Ugh.
a totally original IP where we just talk about all the news and vexillology.
Wow.
There's just way better options.
The Big Bang
Way better
stole
options.
the Big Bang stole Fun with Flags from us. I want to put that on the record. But anyway, that's the second thing I'm following. The third thing I'm following is because of the beauty that was our great hero Strawberry.
Oh, yes.
So they ate the mascot, which
Mm.
is unprecedented. And
Amazing.
I won't. And instead of dumping
Biblical,
Gatorade, they dumped.
perhaps.
It is. I checked. Well, 3 days later, and nothing happened. So, darn it. But they also dumped a bunch of those Pop-Tarts minis on the coach after the victory, which again, great touch. And I have to ask, the Mayo Bowl, Duke's Mayo Bowl, did the same thing they've always done, which is great. And not to say that it was bad, but they didn't toast their mascot. They didn't have their mascot rise from a toaster to
Right.
streamers and creeds higher. But I wants to see if we can beef up, so to speak, a few of the bowl games that haven't specified what they're dumping or showcasing as their mascots.
Yes.
So I would like
idea.
to just pull a few bowls from random. I have all of them right here, the most recent ones, and I would love to just kind of round robin, just kind of shoot out what we think might be a great mascot and/or what you dumping on the winning coach's head.
Yep.
Josh, I got a list.
Oh, we do? Perfect.
I'm always thinking of ideas.
Okay, Tax
This is
Act,
easy.
Texas Bowl.
Well, in lieu of being able to dump accountants on the coach, spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets. I wanted to dump W9s. Yeah.
Yeah.
And who's the mascot?
A spreadsheet.
Could it be because the reason I ask this is because I don't know where
Or
else
could be
he
an
fits.
accountant.
Could we make it Clippy from like the Microsoft Word?
It's
Yes.
Clippy. It's Clippy.
It
Yes.
should be Clippy. Yes.
Unless
Good
there's
job.
a bowl that he fits better in, I don't think there's one that I
I
see.
don't think so.
All right.
Maybe one of those mortgage lending bowls,
Yeah.
which I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Why are you sponsoring a bowl? If I can't go purchase you at a grocery store, you probably shouldn't be wasting your money.
Well,
Yeah.
Johnny, that's an excellent point because who is the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl selling to?
They're advertising for Germany, probably.
Well,
Hey, Germany.
The country of Germany,
Right.
not its citizens, the
Right.
government.
Yeah, that's. I
Like,
mean, that's
just-
some interesting marketing right there.
I
I'm
don't
just me sitting on my
understand.
couch, like, oh my gosh, you're right. I need an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, fighter
They're-
jet would
they're-
sounds really good for Christmas.
Yeah,
German officials, historic fans of James Madison University.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, what's Easy Post? Because I'm looking in the Hawaii Bowl as the Easy Post. That's the sponsor?
Pineapple juice.
Is that literally what it is?
It's the Hawaii Bowl. Pineapple juice.
Oh, okay.
And the mascot's
matter
a
who the
giant,
sponsor
and
is.
the mascot's a giant piece of
Somebody
Team
said that what is it? Duolingo should definitely sponsor a bowl game.
Yes.
You have the owl.
The winning team-
That'd be
the
the, most
winning
unhinged
team.
thing ever.
and the winning team gets to live.
Yeah, that owl is so judgmental. Oh
It's just the owl's just standing there on the back with a pickaxe.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
It should absolutely happen. Josh, couple that I'm just like absolutely need to
please,
happen.
Please.
But I think it's Bad Boys Mowers sponsors the Gasparilla Bowl.
Yes, they do.
Pinstripe Bowl now. But
This one's what is it, Aaron?
Did you see
the Pinstripe Bowl is now with. Well,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but
Well,
did you see they?
I feel like it's easy.
The
Grass
DJ
clippings.
was-
Why is it not
Oh.
grass clippings?
Oh, that's
then?
grass clippings.
That's easy.
yeah,
That's
that
most
was
of
easy.
the-
That's real
that's
tough.
great.
That's a bad day.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
tough. Hopefully you took your Zyrtec.
Yep.
And my other one, which everybody always tells me that this is a really dumb idea and it might be dangerous, but Valero has sponsored the Alamo Bowl for a really long time.
Mhm.
And I think we should have a mascot that is just a barrel of crude oil. And then we also should dump said barrel of crude oil
Oh.
on the game-winning coach.
Oh,
There we go.
Hey, there's a lot of Johnny. I love this. I'm gonna punch you up a
Dawn
little
can be a
bit.
secondary sponsor.
Mm.
Dawn soap.
That
Secondary
is how a
sponsor.
businessman thinks.
That is.
Hey, I didn't get my MBA for nothing.
There are usually now. What is the venue for the Bad Boys Mowers? Like what stadium?
Yankee
they play
Stadium
at?
this year because they sponsored the Pinstripe
Okay.
Bowl.
Does Yankee Stadium? They have fireworks and like
They've
spark.
got.
I'm just worried.
To.
Yeah, so I'm worried about about a 52-gallon drum of crude
No,
oil. Like,
That's the Alamo Bowl.
oh, sorry.
Not at Yankee Stadium. No, we're going to the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio. Only the Roadrunners play there. Otherwise, we're all good.
Okay,
all
so
good.
they don't have like fireworks and random like. It's no,
Not
it's
inside. It's a dome.
Texas. It's Texas. I don't trust this. Also, it's Texas. I was in Globe Life Field when they shot off indoor fireworks because of home runs. So do not.
Gosh.
Yeah, no. Do not assume that because it's indoor that somehow Texas has found a way to get around the fireworks thing.
So we're all in on the drum of crude oil with the Dawn soap as the secondary
so.
sponsor. I think it'd be great.
I think that's fair. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, now what are you doing for the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl? I think the sponsors
again,
are relevant.
The taxes. What are we doing?
But it's the Gator Bowl. So are we
True.
are we kidnapping the Gator mascot from just, across the way and forcing him to be there against his will?
Probably.
LSU's always grilling a gator when they play Florida
True.
Can't you just actually eat a gator? I mean, I doubt it's good. Well, it can't be too bad.
I think it's
But
fine.
if you let the Louisianans like spice it up and cook it, it's
True.
probably good.
And I
What
think that
about-
begs an important question. Are we striving to just have something to dump on a coach, or are we striving to have a mascot that you can eat?
I want
But
I want both.
I think the answer
so
is
for
both.
I
Yes.
want to say,
Well, you're not
then, so
eating the
what are
crude
you-
oil drum.
What are you
but
dumping?
I would advise
What
against
are you
it, yes.
What are you dumping on the coach for the Gator Bowl?
Hmm.
Because we can't say tax. We can't say like W9.
water from the bayou.
Yeah.
Oh,
Water from
gosh.
the bayou.
You
Just
better
tell them it's
I-
from the bayou.
Ooh. Yeah,
Josh, that
that's-
water's cleaner than you think.
It's sure. Sure it is.
Marshes and swamps are what clean our water.
True.
After
think.
it goes through the bayou,
Right.
not in the middle of it being in the bayou. It's like me pulling. It's like me pulling like the random drippings from like your air filter from your like AC unit, going, no, this is the cleanest water.
Yep.
It's perfect.
All right, I have a few questions for the classic, like the bowls that are going to be just like the bowls that we all like know and love, and that will always kind of be there. Rose Bowl, easy. We're dumping. Is it easy? We're dumping roses on the winning coach.
Yeah,
Or
Rose
because
petals.
Yeah,
Easy.
rose
rose petals. Cool. And then
Rose
actu-
petals, Josh.
and then actual,
Elegant.
and then actual roses, stems and all on the losing coach.
Only the
Oh.
stems, ideally.
Only the stems.
Only the stem.
Hey,
Yeah.
can't let anything go to waste.
It's true.
Okay.
Use every part of the flower.
Sugar Bowl. Are we all pretty much in agreement?
Did you see
could get
that they
creative
were
with, like, rock candy,
advertising
I think, but yeah.
Yeah.
sugar-free Dr. Pepper
Oh,
at the Sugar Bowl?
despicable.
Amateur hour.
That's all my parents had in the house.
Well, that's
the
okay.
entire
They're,
time I was on break.
they're allowed to have that,
Their
but they don't
parents,
call their
fine.
house the Sugar Bowl,
They
Right,
also
exactly.
that's fair.
to my knowledge.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't see all the updated stuff. Sun Bowl.
Sun kissed.
I always think Capri
Can we
Sun.
change the sponsor? Can we?
Mm.
Oh, there you
That's
go.
good.
I was gonna say, can we change the sponsors? Because
Yeah.
some of these, I'd love to just change the sponsor.
Roofclaim.
what do you do for Verbo?
Boca Raton Bowl.
I was exactly about to ask that.
Losing coach gets a house dropped on them. Don't lose this game.
Oh boy, losing coach has to go to the FCS. No, what do we? Yeah, what are you dropping? Boca Raton, Florida. What is Boca Raton known for? What do they got down there?
I mean, it's nice. It's a really nice area.
beach?
Yeah, the beach.
There,
Bucket of
you,
sand.
you want
Sand.
to give it's
Bucket
not-
of sand.
it's-
We're gonna
it's not-
bury
I
them.
honestly,
not-
if it came
it's
between
not-
a bucket
it's
of
not
sand or a
peaks-
house being dropped on me, I'd actually have to take a moment and think about it.
It's not peak season, so maybe
You
hey,
never
you
get
can
rid of that
winning
sand.
I
team.
know.
How about this? Winning team gets to stay for like a
Ooh,
week.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're gonna go back and do coursework? No, stay here. It's
Right.
fine.
That is interesting, Josh. No, finals
just-
are over. It's break.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you've finished all your
That's
stuff. Most everything was due to 22nd, so they got like just stay. Even if it's the weekend, you
Yeah.
finish Thursday nights. You got Friday through Sunday. You get the long weekends.
Yeah.
Stay here in beautiful Boca Raton, known for being the hosts of Florida Atlantic.
If you lose, straight to Topeka, Kansas.
True. Here's the one thing I would love to keep the famous Toastery sponsorship. I know
Yes.
it's going back to the Bahamas, and I think they won't be sponsoring because I think they're Charlotte based.
Yeah.
Could we somehow keep famous Toastery
Oh, we've got to.
as a sponsor? Not for the Bahamas Bowl, but for a different bowl. Can we remove one of these tax things or one of these military industrial complex companies and insert famous Toastery? Because I like that guy in the bread costume.
How about the
And they dumped buttered bread on the coach. It was great. Perfect.
What's 68 Ventures?
No, I don't know.
See, it's gone.
Yeah.
The 68
Josh, I think I
Ventures
asked you
Bowl
this
is
already,
no
but
more.
have you had Scooter's coffee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did they dump coffee on him?
I thought they dumped like iced coffee. Am I wrong
Right.
about that? I'm gonna Google.
take
Yeah,
that.
it doesn't have to be hot coffee unless you're the losing team.
Right. Yeah.
I do like
we're not animals
this
here.
side
Come
thing
on.
where there are punishments to the coach for
Yeah.
losing. And I like
Be great.
Wait,
this
look,
new.
what has the big story out of bowl games been? These teams don't want to be there. They don't mean anything. Look, if it's the difference between
mean something.
scalding hot coffee or iced coffee, I'm playing pretty hard.
Oh, Ryan Day is pulling out every single trick play he knows. If he's worried about a B-2 bomber flying over his house. Like,
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
sorry, I'm back.
That
on the military-
escalated.
I'm back on the military industrial bowls because that's a great. I mean, they're right there. They're not being used a ton. Like, if they're already doing the flyover, like it's going to be
Sure.
nothing for it to just keep flying. And
Yeah. I think
Oop, oh no.
DirecTV Holiday Bowl, the winning team gets their DirecTV bill paid for by the losing team.
Not just DirecTV.
winning team.
Well, I mean,
gets
I'm assuming
to-
they get DirecTV.
winning team gets to either add a new federal holiday or move an existing federal holiday to a
Ooh.
different day.
That's
Oh.
good, Josh.
I miss the San Diego County Credit Union sponsorship of that game. What would get dumped on them? Not a clue, but I miss the sponsorship.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I think we've
Oh.
accomplished a lot here.
Yes.
Yes, we have. We've accomplished a whole lot. So I will go quick on what I'm following.
Sorry, I need to go
I
last. I,
think-
need to start going last.
One,
Oh, but Johnny, I'm
I
glad
thi-
you're talking about this.
Yeah, I think we might have mentioned it on a previous podcast, or maybe I'm confusing it, just conversations off of it. But the 9-month cruise, I think we asked at one point if we'd be interested in going on a 9-month cruise. And I think you two said absolutely not. And I said,
No.
sure, that sounds like a blast.
9 months.
I'm not paying. I'm not paying.
Not-
but like
not based on what they're experiencing.
Not
Has
based on
it
the current
been a
experience.
Fun time.
theoretically, I would love to do nothing. But even then, like, I think we were talking, I'd like to just go to one or two places and kind of dig into those locales versus seeing
I'm all
like,
about
100
this
plus.
and that. Why one or the other? It's only 9 months. You
I'm
got
only-
the rest of your
no,
life
if
to
I'm
keep
doing it-
going.
listen, I'm a Midwesterner at heart. At my core, I am nothing if not practical. If I take a 9-month vacation, I am never taking vacation again in my life.
True.
All right, that is all the vacation I will ever take. So
Oh my gosh, that's sad, Josh. I would absolutely take 9 months off.
I only get
And keep
1
taking
week. I
my
only get 1
regular
week
vacation.
of happiness per year. So
Oh.
if I do, that's pretty much my
Sad.
entire life.
That is sad. Well, anyway, on the 9-month cruise, they started off with somebody getting COVID pretty quickly. So they had to quarantine.
Yeah.
Well, they were at least able to kind of like quarantine
still able to take
part
ports,
of the
yeah.
ship. So everybody else was still able to go where they were supposed to. So you're like, oh, okay, like, well, that's not the end of the world. That sucks if you're like one of those people. Because like, you know how COVID works. You don't always know until like the symptoms actually represent themselves. So it's not even necessarily that person's fault. Although I would say if I'm getting on a 9-month cruise with people, I'm okay with everything up to like blood work. Like you can do blood work on everybody getting on that ship because I want everybody healthy. So that's different than everyday life. Go ahead and test me for everything and everybody else. Do that. Well, they also got flooding the other day. So a large part of the ship has flooded. So
what ship did they go on?
I don't know. I don't remember actually.
This sounds like a more of a
oh my gosh.
cruise.
So I'll read a little bit. It does. So they were hit by a massive storm. Parts of the boat are heavily flooded indoors. And this is while they were set to, now this is yesterday. So I don't know if they're currently doing this or have already done it at this point. And they were set to sail through the Drake Passage, which is known as one of the roughest areas of sea in the entire world. If you're not familiar with geography, which I know you two aren't necessarily, that is the
I know
strait
exactly where it is.
Under South America that comes very close to Antarctica. So it's really rough seas, that part of the world, Southern Ocean, like crazy like weather and waves. So they hit this storm before they even got there. So part of the ship is in the indoors is flooded already. They're not even like out of the Western Hemisphere yet. This is wild.
Beautiful.
I would want nothing to do with this ship at this point. I'd say drop me off in Argentina. I will walk home. So that's a positive note to end the podcast.
Yeah. Another positive, actually, this is not a positive. This is the exact opposite. A negative. If the Long Island Sharks win their basketball game tonight, every single school in the Northeast Conference in both men's and women's basketball will have a losing record.
Amazing.
There you go. That's how we'll end the show. Yeah, I think that does wrap us up. Thanks for listening. It's good to be back with you, the listener. Appreciate you listening to the show as always. Thank you for supporting us. By the way, I will mention too, this episode should come out tomorrow, which means Friday, which means that we will be in the semifinals of picking the best new college football helmet that was debuted in 2023. We've been voting on that over on Instagram. If you already follow us there, then you've probably already been voting. So hopefully your favorite helmet is doing well. Johnny and I, our favorite helmet narrowly escaped by a single vote.
Yeah, what's wrong with people?
I don't know. So vote Big Red and enjoy the rest of your week. We'll talk to you again soon. New episodes coming out on Wednesdays from here on out. We are excited to see you then. Have a good week.
Here I was for a moment thinking we were going to have a really short podcast.